Begin the current Daf Mesech Kesuvos Daf Peites. We begin on the bottom of Peites and base, the bottom line, where we continue with halacha in the next Mishnah. Here on the theme regarding a woman's collecting her ksuba, regarding limitations, regarding different concerns that we have, regarding what could she collect with what, regarding what document is she producing. Appreciate we're joining today's Daf. And that is, our Mishnah discusses a woman who claims her ksuba through a get, not with a ksuba, versus a woman who claims a ksuba through a shtar ksuba and not with a get, which is because she might have one document, not the other, as we'll see. And the question is, if you produce one, can she collect with that? Are there any concerns? And how much actually is she going to be able to collect with that document? And that's what our Gemara discussed regarding the case of women who claim multiple ksuba payments, but providing multiple ksubas or gittin, which is, let's say she has more than one ksuba, more than one get. What's the halacha going to be? The machlek is regarding kreisvin shaver or in kreisvin shaver. When you have a debt that's paid up, what do? There's two options. Either you write a receipt, and the only problem with that is that then the borrower has to hold on to this document forever because the lender might still have the document of the loan. Versus in kreisvin shaver, no, you don't write a receipt. So what do? How do you know they got paid up? You tear up the loan document, but then you have to wait till he produces the loan document. So that's a machlekes that comes up in today's daf. Shvis mishametis is what we had this past year. The Shemitah year cancels all loans, but Hil Tikkun Prusbul, he instituted that the document is like it's produced by the court, so you're not over the yigris of collecting, and therefore you could even collect after the Shemitah year. So begin the current daf Peites and base. The bottom line says the Mishnah. So the woman comes to court. She produces her get. See, I got divorced, but she doesn't have a ksuba. Now, Rashi explains, the Gemara assumes that we're talking about, she says, I lost my ksuba document. Meaning the woman's, I'm divorced. When I get divorced, I get to collect my ksuba. I lost it, I don't have it, but look, see, I got divorced, so I deserve to get my ksuba. So it says the Mishnah to get him to have a Peites and Aleph, Goivik Subasa. Again, there's a lot of technical, it's like one of those, a little of a hot cup daf again. You should have to, it's not an easy flow. But it says the Mishnah, she could collect her ksuba. What's the chiddush in this? And there's a lot of Rashis over here that explain a lot of the things. So he cannot claim, what do you mean? I paid you up already. What do you mean? You know why you don't have a ksuba? Because you gave it back to me. When I paid you up, you gave me the ksuba, and I ripped it up. No, the Mishnah is telling us if she's only producing a get, no ksuba, she could collect her ksuba. Why? Because one of the ksuba itself is a maisa bezdin. It's an institution of the courts. Even if you wouldn't write a ksuba, you would be obligated in a ksuba. This is what the Gemara Baba Metzi learns out. What's called hatoyin archa maisa bezdin. If you're making a claim in contradistinction to a maisa bezdin, you didn't say anything. Why? She's not producing a ksuba. So that's because any maisa bezdin is like as if you're holding a shtar. If the courts say that there's a ksuba, then you're obligated to pay ksuba. Even if I'm not holding a ksuba, it's like as if she's holding a shtar. So you can't be toina chamaisa bezin. It's like as if we know she has a ksuba. So if she produces just a get, he's not believed to say, what do you mean? You had a ksuba, you paid it, I paid you up, you gave it to me, I tore it up. No, she comes just, and the Gemara is going to discuss some of the problems, obviously, that might come up if you run into this fact that she could come without a ksuba document, but just coming with a get is going to be sufficient for him to be obligated to pay the ksuba. That's case number one. Case number two, says the Mishnah, is the other way around. Let's say ksuba ve'enim get. She comes with a ksuba document, but no get. So what's their compensation? So here, she says, avad giti. Says, I lost my get. What's the chiddush in this? Again, there's layers of explanation over here. What do you mean? What do you mean? You can't just say you lost your get. You can't. How do we know you're even divorced? How are you collecting ksuba? Ksuba is only collected when he dies, which he's obviously not, or when he divorces her. Which how do we know that he divorced her? So that's not really what we're discussing over here when she's saying avad giti. We're gonna have to prove that she's divorced. So what is she trying to say when she says avad giti? Meaning, as Rashi explains, I didn't use the get to collect my ksuba through it, which we just mentioned this case a second ago. We said that you could use your get to collect your ksuba. And then what would have happened had I used my get, the courts would have torn it up, which we'll see how can you tear up the woman's get, she needs to have her get to get remarried, but they would have done something, they would have torn it up. And maybe that's why I don't have it. No, that's what she's saying, avaditi. You understand there's a layer of it. It's not just something she's saying, oh, where's your get? Oh, I don't have, I lost it. No, she's explaining something over here. She's bavarn, she's forewarning. You would think maybe I don't deserve my kasuba because where's the get? You know why the get's not here? Because you collected already once with the get. And they tore it up. So don't come collecting with your ksuba now. You already came once with the get. No. I lost my get. That's not why I don't have my get over here, because I already collected once with the ksuba and they tore it up. That's what she's saying. And he says, Avid Shevari says, oh, I lost my receipt. What is he trying to say? So Rashi explains the backstory to that also. He says, no, you already came to court and you said to the Rabbanim, you said, I lost my ksuba document. So what's the halacha? That was the ratio of the Mishnah. If you come with your get, without a ksuba, the Rabbanim gave you your ksuba because of the get that you came with. So they tore it up. Why don't you come every day, every month you back with your get again and collect again. So for me, the Rabbanim wrote for me a shaver, a receipt, that I paid up already your ksuba. Because what's the problem? If let's say you're going to come another time on my yarshim with your ksuba document, because you said, you claimed that you lost it, so you came just with your get, but you really had it somewhere hiding. You're going to wait till I pass away, you're going to come to my yarshim, and you produce the ksuba, say, look, that I was never divorced, because for divorce, that you run into a problem, because the get, it was torn up already. No, so you're going to wait till I drop dead, then you're going to come to the yarshim, and just come with a ksuba, say, I was never paid up yet. So the receipt was as a witness to testify that, no, this is already paid up. But I lost the receipt. So again, that was a little bit layered over there, but that's what their conversation was. It's not stam, he's saying and she's saying. As Rashi explains, in very critical statements they're saying, what it's addressing in regard to the halachic implications of the other cases, like the case of the Reisha, that you could collect just with your get and not a ksuba. So now when you're coming with a ksuba without a get, it's very important. So where is the get? She's saying, it wasn't torn up because you already paid me with the get, it was lost. And he says, no, you came with the get. And
why is that being so complicated? If she says she doesn't have a get because she lost it, he's not arguing that she's not divorced, clearly. So he's saying, I lost my shiur. So
right, it's
I'm agreeing that we got divorced. So put the get aside. The get is irrelevant.
No, but it's not irrelevant.
Because we're in agreement.
No, but it's not irrelevant. The reason why it's so important, that's exactly what I was addressing. It sounds like the way we're saying, it sounds like, just like that, what you're saying, that's not so important because he's agreeing to it anyway. It's because, no, you brought your get. Where's the get then? Where's the get? You know why it's not here? It's not because you lost it. You came and you told the Rabban you don't.
That's speculative. But there's no disagreement on the get here.
Right.
It's like, when...
No, but right, no, it's not because of the actual divorce. You're right, for that's what I'm saying, for the get as the divorce, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is that you could collect your ksuba with just a get. Now, where's the get right now? It's very important.
Ksuba. Oh, yeah, you would have collected the ksuba.
No, you told the Rabban that you lost the ksuba.
Oh, you didn't have the get.
You came already once before. You came with the get. And you told the Rabban, I don't know where it is.
So she gives Why would she have said that if she had the ksuba?
Because she wanted to collect another time. After I dropped dead, then she's going to come and say, Amnon was never divorced. You want to know what my get is? What get? I was never divorced.
She gives him the get to Besden in order to take her ksuba?
Yeah.
So therefore she's walking around without a get.
So that's the Gemara is going to explain exactly what they do. But they tear it up and they keep it and they write something on it and they say this was already collected once with it. But they tear it up. But you still have it so you could show that you're divorced. But that's what their claims are, and the counterclaims are addressing this underlying theme about collecting with one versus the other. So that's one case. A creditor, in a very unrelated case, but it's the same idea. You have a creditor after the Shemitah year, like Mamash right now, that we're in right now, right after the Shemitah year, and he produces a loan document. What's a prusbul? So the Gemara in Gittin explains that Lamadalma Beis, the Hill was instituted a prusbul, that Shemitah should not cancel a loan. How could you do that? The Torah says Shemitah cancel a loan. What are you doing? So what happens is when you give over your documents to the court, which is essentially what a prusbul is, that the borrower could collect his debt as long as the courts are claiming it. It's not a violation of lo yigos. The whole violation is that the Torah says once the Shemitah year comes, you can't come and claim from your debtor, where he's not claiming anything. The courts are claiming, because hefker bezin hefker, they could make anyone's stuff ownerless. That's not a violation of Torah law, and they can go down to his property. So he didn't have a prusbul, but so what's their claim? So the borrower is saying, okay, Shemitah cancel it. The lender is saying, no, I had a prusbul that Shemitah shouldn't cancel it, but I lost it. I don't know where it is. So in all these cases that we said of Levi, when she comes with a ksuba without a get, or the creditor without his prusbul, halacha is harei edu lo yifro, they're not like collect. Why not? And both of them were concerned by the woman. Maybe she already collected once before with her get, because where's the get? And you're trying to collect, I don't know. Maybe you already collected once before with the get. You can't just come with the ksuba. And with the creditor, is that maybe Shemitah canceled it. You don't have a prusbul. We don't know. We don't know that you might not have had a prusbul, so therefore you cannot collect. Now, he says, Minasakana ve'elach. What does that mean, minasakana? There was a period in history that the non-Jews made decrees on the mitzvahs, and the Jews were afraid to keep certain documents that show that we're keeping Torah law, because that's in violation to the anti-Semitic government. So they didn't want to keep their gittin. So the moment the woman got her get, she would get it, so the divorce happened, then she would burn it to burn all the evidence. So to the prusbul, they wouldn't want to hold on to it, so they would burn it. A regular document that's a commerce that you're allowed to have. But a get, a prusbul, these are Jewish law, this is evidence. So from that point onward, says Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, get. A woman could collect a ksuba without a get, meaning not like the halacha we just said, she could collect without a get. And a creditor could collect without a prusbul, because that's not evidence, it's not reason for us to be concerned, because the reason why it's not here is simply because it's dangerous for a person to have these things. Now, the Gemara says, Shmamina, that what? We learned in the Reisha, the opening case of the Mishnah was, I see a get, she produced a get, the Einima Ksuba, she does not produce a Ksuba. The halacha is, she collects her Ksuba by just producing the get. And what is that telling us? We're not concerned for deception. What type of deception would it be? What do you mean? Very simple. She might come to another court and produce her ksuba, and then after he dies, as a widow, she's going to say, "I was never divorced and I never collected." As Rashi explains, she cannot come back a second time as a grusha. The reason for that is, as we'll explain later on, as we mentioned already, they tear up her get. And when she comes back, let's say, then without the get and only ksuba, our Mishnah already explicitly says, Hadeu leifro. Can't collect with the ksuba without a get. So that's not a problem about that you're going to come a second time.
You're forgetting the Yarshim there, they had to pay up. They also have a Kabbalah that they paid up.
Right, what do you mean? That's only
the second baseman's not going to give her money without the Yarshim there.
Right, so they don't. What do they know?
They have a star. They're not going to pay her without a Kabbalah.
Oh, so what star? We'll see that exactly. That's exactly what the Gemara is about to point about writing receipts. But what's the concern without receipts? Let's say the concern Rashi is just telling us would not be concerned that she should come a second time say, "What am I get? I was divorced," because that's not going to help you because that was ripped up. But what we could be concerned about, which the Gemara is trying to prove a point from, is the woman might wait till her husband dies, and then she's going to collect as a widow, which has nothing to do with a get. Now, why are we not concerned for that? You tell me that she could collect her ksuba with just producing the get, you run into a problem then. But then, if a woman generally has two documents. She has a ksuba and she has a get when she gets divorced. So you tell me in the opening halakha of the Mishnah that she would produce a get without a ksuba, she collect the ksuba. Problem is, dimma, like Rashi's words, dimma maskul like the ksuba gavipa. She might come produce her ksuba and collect again in another bezin. She might really have the ksuba. So she might come with the ksuba. Now, when is she producing this ksuba? That's just Rashi was explaining, not when her husband's still alive, because that actually was said in the Mishnah, ksuba veinim or get, she can't collect. Rashi explains it means when she's a widow, because when her husband's still alive, we tell her where's the get. So she said, Avad Giti. He says, no, we don't believe you because maybe you came with the get already and you collected because you could collect with the get. But what we are concerned about is that maybe he's going to die. He said there was never a get. To collect as almana. That we should be concerned for. That's what Rashi is explaining. What the Gemara Shema Mina is, which is a whole, just two words. Shema Mina. Rashi explaining what the backstory of that is that we should be concerned. We should be concerned that maybe she's going to come, wait till he dies. Then she'll come just with a ksuba. There's no get. Well, there's no where's the get. What get? We never divorced. So she might just come and collect with a ksuba. Why are you not concerned for that? Why are you letting collect just with a get without a ksuba? She'll come twice. Says the Gemara, obviously, that kais and shiver. Obviously, you force the borrower to take a receipt, and he cannot excuse himself and say, nah, I'm not paying back up until you give me back the document. Because you might use the document to collect from me a second time. No, we tell him, pay up, and I'll write for your receipt. Which is a machlekes in Baba Basra of Kof Ayin Alpha Base. And the problem with this is, and why we're saying Shema Minah, is that we actually come out like the one who says that you don't write a receipt. Why do we say you don't write a receipt? Write a receipt, that means for the rest of this guy's life, the next 10, 20 years, the guy has to hide this receipt from the mice, which in Talmudic times that was a real concern, that the moment you lose the receipt, he still has the document, he can still collect from you. So the problem with saying this, which the Gemara is saying, it seems from our Mishnah, is that you write a receipt. Problem is, we hold that you don't. Where do you see from our Mishnah you hold you write a receipt? Says the Gemara. The ain't because if you don't write a receipt, we have to be concerned that maybe she might come and produce after his death, liksubasa, tarksuba begabi, but she's going to collect as a widow. Why are you not concerned for that? Very simple. I'll tell you why we're not concerned for that. Because we had a receipt. And so he has a receipt. So just like we were saying before a moment ago, you were saying that, the Yarshma are not going to give her again because, they're going to take out of the safe the receipt. So our Tati paid you up already, 7 years ago after you guys got divorced. We're coming now claiming as a widow, collecting. So obviously you write a receipt. But that's, according to Rashi, that's the Gemara's question. Now, what do you mean write a receipt? We paskin inkais and sheva. So in the Mishnah, this halacha which is built on the foundation of writing receipt. So Amar Rav, Rav says, no. We're talking about b'makom she'inkais m'ksuba askinan. We're talking about in a place where they don't write a ksuba. Rather, they rely on the T'nai Bezdin, which is that even if we don't write, you collect the ksuba. So, you're right. She's going to collect when she's a widow with witnesses, and actually that's why it's a discussion exactly. So in a very simple way, we're saying there's no concern. What's the concern? She's going to produce a ksuba or ksuba. There's no ksuba for her to produce when she's a widow. But first we explained that you have to say a little bit more. That's actually why here you would write a shaver, even though you generally don't, because here there is no ksuba. It's just where a woman just comes and says that I'm owed a. Again, the way you would normally read it is you say there's no ksuba to collect with, but what do you know ksuba? But every woman collects by virtue of just saying that I'm a widow. So what are you really gaining? So you're saying, no, that's why over here you're going to write a shaver, even though generally you don't write a shaver. That's one approach. Shmuel he says, no, says the halacha of the Mishnah is true even where they write a ksuba. So then you're really back to the question. Will the Shmuel Kais and Shaven? Is that really so that according to Shmuel, you write a receipt? Because again, if you're not writing a receipt, you should be concerned for that she might collect 2 times. She collect once with the get, and she collect another time with the ksuba. So, but we hold generally that you don't write a shayva. So Rav Anan Rai says, "L'didim efarshli minei demar Shmuel." Says, I heard explained from the master of Shmuel that the truth is that no, we don't write a receipt. So wait, if you don't write a receipt, and you tell me it's in the place with the right ksuba, so how can you then collect the ksuba with the get? You're going to run into the problem. She'll wait till he dies and she'll collect another time. No, because mamanavshach. What's the mamanavshach? Either way, it's not running into a problem, as the Gemara explains. B'makom she'en kaisvin, if it's a place where the custom is that they generally don't write a ksuba, v'amar, and he says, kosafti, I wrote a ksuba, and I'm afraid that maybe she's going to go back and collect another time through the ksuba, so I don't want to go ahead and give it to her with her get. No, a lovely biraya. He has to bring proof that he wrote a ksuba. Now, if he brings proof with witnesses that he wrote a ksuba, you're right. She won't be able to collect with a get because she has a ksuba. And if he doesn't bring a raya, that's what the Mishnah is saying, that if she brings her get, she's in collecting ksuba, and he's not believed to say that I did different than the minig of the city. So therefore, that was saying that she's going to be able to collect. We'll give him a receipt, but that's the thing she's going to collect. Whereas, b'makom shekaisvin, if it's a place that they write ksuba, v'amar, she says, like possibly, he didn't write one for me. Olel hevi raya, then she has to bring the raya. And when the Mishnah said in that case that she collects a ksuba, or that she brought a raya that he didn't write for her ksuba. So then, if he didn't write for her ksuba, then we're not concerned that she can go ahead and produce the ksuba after he dies. So that's how Shmuel explains. And manavshach is not a problem, because either way, one of them has to bring a raya, depending if they're going excluding from the minig end. You're not going to run into the problem of producing a ksuba after he dies. Now, although Rav had said differently, and he had explained it's talking about in a place that you don't write a ksuba, so you're not going to run into the problem of her producing ksuba after he dies. But the Gemara says, Va'af Rav. Rav, who had explained the Mishnah only in the case of when you don't write a ksuba, Hadar Bey, Rav retracted, and he ended up explaining the Mishnah actually in a very different way. The Amar Rav explained that actually, Bein B'makom Shekaisvin, which these are the key words, that because he had originally said that the halacha of the Mishnah is only where you don't write a ksuba. No, ultimately he retracted. He says even the place where you do write, or Bein B'makom She'en Kais, no place that you don't write. He explains as follows: that why you're not going to run into a problem about a double collection of get and ksuba. Our problem is, how is the opening halacha of the Mishnah saying that if she produces a get, she's able to collect the ksuba? She might have the ksuba somewhere hiding, and when he dies, she can produce another ksuba, meaning that ksuba. So Rabbit originally said, no, you don't write a ksuba, so there's no problem. We're not going to run into any problems about producing ksuba. But now the Gemara says he retracted. He said the halacha is even where you do write a ksuba. Write a ksuba, so she's going to wait. He's already an elderly man. They got divorced in the 70s, and she's going to produce the ksuba. Why not wait for that? So Rav explains the get and the ksuba collect different things. So you're not going to run into this problem. Because get, when she produces a get without a ksuba, you know what she collects? Yeah, she collects a ksuba, but goiva ikr, the primary ksuba. What's primary ksuba? Halacha is, the minimum ksuba is 100 for a widow and 200 for a basula. When the Mishnah says she collects a ksuba with the get, it's only the ikr ksuba, not any additions, which we all write, and we're adding on that the Chassan Danan is giving a thousand meya kes, whatever he's giving. So get only gets you the ikr. Ksuba, when she produces a ksuba without a get, that's goyva tesefes. She only collects the additions, not the primary. Why? Because we're concerned that maybe she collected based on the get. And whoever wants to come and respond could come and respond, meaning there's no more concern now anymore, says Rav, with a double collection with a get and the ksuba, because those are collecting two very different things. So you see, Rav retracted and explained the halacha of the Mishnah, not only b'makom she'en kais and ksuba, even the place that she kais and ksuba. So how could she collect with a get? Because it collects different things. So you're not running into any problem of her collecting more than what's otar.
Let her hold a ksuba by a get.
What do you mean?
Someone comes to get with a hold of super watching exhibit.
She has a ksuba that was written when she got married.
Why do we take it away from her?
Because she could stay fed from the Simon for another 10 years. Only when she wants to collect what's owed. It's like a shtar. It's like a shtar chayv. It's like a debt that's owed to me. I could use it to collect whenever I want. I don't. What?
Yeah.
Right. So now the ksuba is something that's owed to me. It's not. I don't have to give it back when we get divorced. It's not like break the shidduch and give back the rings. You know what I'm saying? It's my ksuba. This is you owe me this money. I could wait 10 years until I collect this. It's a debt that the husband said when we get divorced. You could stay and get fed from this stage. Whenever she opts out of this and says, I want to move on, I want to get married to someone else, then she produces the ksuba. So the Gemara asks Tanan. The Gemara asks from the halacha of our Mishnah. The second case of our Mishnah. Up until now, we were discussing the first case, a case of get without a ksuba. The second case was ksuba beinim or get. If she produces a ksuba without a get, here, man, she says, Avad giti. Oh, I lost my get. So that's why I'm producing just like ksuba, but really I was divorced. I'm producing a ksuba. Boimei says, nah. Avad shavari says, no, you already produced your get once before. You came to the Rabbanim, you told me you don't have a ksuba, and like the opening halacha Mishnah, you collected with it, and you made believe you didn't have a ksuba, and now you're producing a ksuba. No, the Rabbanim they actually gave me a receipt, but I lost my receipt. And the second case we said, so too when the creditor comes with his document. But it doesn't have a principal. So he said in those two cases in the Mishnah, you cannot collect with them. Okay. So now the Gemara asks on this machlokes Rav and Shmuel how to explain the halacha of the Mishnah. The Gemara says, Bishloima lishmuel. We understand according to Shmuel. Then what? That he said both the primary monies and the additional monies. He says you could collect, when we said in the halacha of the Mishnah, get veino iksuba, gave iksubasa, it meant all the monies. You could collect based on the get. Why? Because if you recall, according to Shmuel, he said she has to prove that it's a place that they don't write a ksuba. If she proves that they don't write it, that either it's a place they don't write a ksuba, or even if it's a place they do, she has to prove that he didn't write her a ksuba. That's what he said. It's bein melokim shekais mokum shekais, depending who's proving what. But if it's mokum she'inkais and fine, then we know there's not. But obviously here there might be ksuba, so he's saying he proves that there's no ksuba that was written for her. But at least Shmuel says that when she collects the get, she can collect all of it. Okay, so Muki Law, he explains when the second case in Mishnah says that she doesn't collect, is b'makom shein kaisvin, is in a place where you don't write a ksuba. Therefore, she's believed that, never he's believed, when he says that I paid it based on the get, because v'amar, he says, when you had come to collect with your get, I said in the court, kasafti, that I wrote for her ksuba. And I was afraid that she's not going to come back and collect another time with her ksuba, because she's only producing a get right now. So Rabbanim told me, they said, bring a raya. The Mrinale, where we tell him, I see raya. But I didn't have any proof. Oh, the halach is if he doesn't bring a proof. Amrina, we tell him, okay, zilpare, you gotta go pay up. She has a get. You gotta pay up all of it. Because you can't bring a raya, it's a place that they don't write a ksuba generally. You're trying to say, no, I did write one. You wrote one, Shmuel said, you have to bring the raya. I didn't have a raya, I didn't have any even. So they said to me to pay up. So I asked the Rabbanim, at least, write for me a receipt. Because you're forcing me to pay up, at least let me have a receipt. So they wrote for me a receipt, and I lost it. But therefore he believed, and it's logical that because they don't write ksubas over there, so if she brings a ksuba without a get, so we believe him to say that, what do you mean, what should bring a ksuba? We don't usually, this is not a place that we usually write ksubas. So he's saying, yes, Rabbanim, I want you to know, what happened was, she came with her get, and you guys told me that we don't write ksubas over here. You said you wrote a ksuba, bring a raya. I didn't have a raya, so you made me pay. Now she's coming to ksuba without a get. Rabbanim, don't listen to her that she's saying that Ovid Giti. She's not Ovid Giti, she collected with the get already. And you guys gave me a receipt, but I lost my receipt. Okay, makes sense. We believe him that he doesn't have to pay up. Because it's not a place that we usually write a ksuba. So what's she doing with a ksuba? Okay, because and the get's not here. She has a ksuba, no get. Okay, she's playing with us. She already collected with the get, and now she's bringing out the ksuba. Okay, but that's halacha according. At least it makes sense according to Shmuel. The problem is that Rab, according to Rab, that he says that what do you collect with a get? You only collect the ikr, the 100, 200. Wait a second. Why can't she collect when she produces the ksuba? Nehi the ikr lagavi. I understand she won't be able to collect the 100, 200 because there's no get. Tosefes made tikvi. Why can't you collect the addition? If you remember, according to Rab, he says they collect different things. So what's the problem when she comes to ksuba without a get? Why, according to Rab, why doesn't he have to pay up? So Rabbi Yisrael says, what are we talking about over here? And this comes up to a point that people had brought up before. What's the relevance if she doesn't come with a get? There's no witnesses even got divorced. So you wonder why is he believed not to pay her up anything, which we're asking, what do we according to Rab, at least give the Tosefes, which the Kesuvos is right. He says, since he's believed to say, I didn't even divorce you, which then you can't collect anything, he's not divorced, as he continued in the base, so then he could say, yes, I did divorce you, and I already gave you a ksuba. So therefore, that's why she doesn't collect anything even with the ksuba, because he has a migui to say you're not even divorced. So although really, why shouldn't you give at least the Tosefes? Come with the ksuba. Says, yeah, but I could say I paid you up. Well, how do you have the ksuba document? I don't know. You said you didn't have it. Whatever it is. But the point is that I have a migui that I could say you're not even divorced, and therefore, I believe when I say I already paid up your ksuba also. Then the Gemara asks, wait a second. The case that you're trying to tell me how the Mishnah is talking about is a little bit difficult. Because read on the Mishnah. You're telling me that it's talking about when there's no edim of gerushin. We don't even know if she's even divorced. That's why he's believed to not pay up the Tosefes when she produces the ksuba. I'm like, tell you safe. I'm going to read on a little bit further in the Mishnah. The Mishnah then continues and says, he says, when this time it was dangerous for Jews to have artifacts, to have these ritual documents. So Isha Gleibik Ksubasa Shlebeget. So he says, yes, then a woman could collect a ksuba, not like we just said in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said she does a ksuba without a get, she cannot collect. One, the situation happened, then you could go ahead and collect a ksuba without a get, and the Balchayim Shlebe Prismal. And the creditor could collect without a prismal. Wait a second. Says the Gemara, but the that must be talking about this witness of divorce. Because the Gedish, but my Gavia, if there's no witnesses that she's even divorced, how are we even collecting? How do we even know she's divorced? You're telling me that the fact that she doesn't have a get is not a flaw in her claim. I get that, because of Misakana Ve'elach. But how is she collecting if we don't even know that she's even divorced? Must be she's divorced. So that then refutes your interpretation of resolving for Rav, why by the case of Ksuba Beinim Aget, that she doesn't even collect even in Tosefes, because you said it's talking about when there's no edigation. Must be edigation, as you see from a few words later in the Mishnah. Elabaz says, no, it's not difficult. You know why? Because Kula B'Shimim Lili. The whole Mishnah is B'Shimim Lili. B'Chsur Mechsar, and there are words missing. But then this, I have to read the Mishnah. When we said if a woman produces a kesuba without a get, the Mishnah said the words Harei Lo Yifrosh, she's not only collect, which we had a difficulty with. Rabbi, why can't you collect? At least give her the Tosefes. Because even if she collected the get, all she got was the ikr, and the kesuba gives you the Tosefes. So the words in the Mishnah are supposed to say like this. But when did we say this, that she cannot collect? When there's no witnesses of Geshem, which we explained according to Rav, that was our answer we gave for Rav, that says that, he has a nigga then, he could say that you weren't even divorced. Believe me when I say that you are divorced by Rabbi Suba. And this is where it is, meaning the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is not a different opinion on the same case. He's then qualified. Aval Yesha made the Gedushin. This is what's missing from the Mishnah. But if there are witnesses of the divorce, you're right. Gavet Tosefes, according to Rav, exactly what did you collect the additions? And regarding the Ve'ikar, what's with the primary? That depends. Imafka Gita Begavia, that if she produced the get, she collects. Vilamafka Gita, if she doesn't produce the get, then she's not going to collect. Why? Because we're concerned that maybe she already collected based on the get once before, and we tore it up, and therefore she doesn't have the get. So therefore she won't be able to collect the Ikar. That is what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, now you're talking about a case of Yesham Eid Gedushin. That's what I'm in the Sakana Melech from divorce and onwards. Even if she does not produce the get, Gabi, she will be able to collect. Why? Where's the get? Where's the get? Because he said, time in danger onwards, each a woman can collect a ksuba get, because of course it's not here. We burned it right away. No Jew would be caught dead holding any one of these documents, and that's what Shmuel is talking about. So it's not a difficulty on Rab, because it's on the case, it's a chasur mechser, it's on the words of that there was a negation. That's where he was going. But you're right, the Reisha, the first part, which is the part that we have in our Mishnah, of that if she has with a ksuba with no get, that halacha is that she cannot collect at all, is tomorrow when there is no a negation. So that doesn't refute Rab. Now, however, the Gemara says another question for Rab. Amalei Rav Kahana v'Ravasi l'Rav. According to you, that you say the get, when she produces just a get. Again, there's two cases on Mishnah Kibbutz talking about get without a ksuba, ksuba without a get. When she comes just with a get, you told me because she collects the primary, which is the basic get ksuba, which is 100 for almana, 200 for a basula. So I have a following question for you. Almana min hanisuin. If a woman is widowed from nisuin, but my gabi, with what is she collecting her ksuba? Obviously, be'edei misa, with witnesses that her husband died. And then she produces her ksuba document to the Yarshin, and she collects, and they tear it up. But v'leichish de magirsha, we should be concerned that maybe he really divorced her, and then mafke legito, and then she brings her get to another court, begavi, and she's going to collect her ikr from the estate. Meaning, if she was widowed and she's going to collect with a ksuba everything, but why are we not concerned that maybe she was really divorced? And she's going to come and collect with the get, the ikr, from another court. So says the Gemara, no. A widow does not just collect her ksuba unless we recognize that at the moment of death, the yeshiva tachas bayla, she was living with her husband. You're right. If we don't know that she was living with her husband, she might have been divorced. She can't just collect the ksuba from the Yershin, because she might go to some other court and say, here's my get. And she'll collect the ikr, she get $100, whatever, she'll get just cash out, just where they get. You're right, we won't give her as a widow from the Suin to collect just like that. We have to know, were you married, were you guys living, were you guys together? So the Gemara says, how do we know? Maybe a day before he dropped dead, he had a heart attack. He's like, he got so upset at her, he's like, he gave her the get, and he drops dead a few hours later. How do we know? Maybe she's going to come, ich bin almana. Now, she's coming, they pay out everything. But she really was divorced. She's going to come with the get to some other court and collect. How do we know? So says the Gemara, if that's the case, you're right. That's something he caused that to himself. That's not like a situation that we're going to know and that we have to address. But then the Gemara continues and says, wait, almanim in the erisin. If she's widowed from engagement, meaning she never was, you told me it's yeshevet tachas bayla. That helps us know that she's a true widow and that she wasn't divorced. The problem is when she's engaged, she was never yeshevet tachta because she's by her father's house. So you can't give me your answer that you told me, how do we know that she wasn't really divorced? Because she was Narusa, and Narusa has the ksuba also. So, but my gather, how is she going to collect? Obviously, be'edemisa. She says, oh, the chassan was somewhere in a car accident and he passed away, and these witnesses. Maybe he divorced her. Maybe she was never even married at the time of, wasn't engaged. Again, halachic engagement, which in Talmudic times they had the kedushin, they got the ring already 12 months before the chuppah, before the wedding. So maybe she produced the get somewhere else and collect. So obviously it's not a good answer, Yeshiva Sakta, because she was never Yeshiva Sakta. So the Rebbe says, the Gemara, don't say that you have to prove that she was Yeshiva Sakta, that she was living with her husband when he died. Because even if he's overseas also, and they hear that he died, we're talking about b'makom dolei efsher, in a situation where it's not possible, like by a widow, kaisvinan shayter. Then we write a receipt. Meaning, yes, if she's widowed, she's going to collect the ksuba. Why are we not concerned that maybe that he divorced her and she can produce the get somewhere else? Because we tell them, write for them a receipt. Because in a situation where you don't say that it's deception, because she can't collect if you're going to come to all these concerns, like in this situation, or like Rashi says, the case that we had early in this Masechta on the Zayin Beis, if the ksuba was burnt in front of witnesses, we're not going to hold her back from collecting ksuba. We just say, we write a receipt. And says the Gemara, because if you don't say this, that we have to write a receipt in some situations, and therefore obviously that's going to prevent the problem of her producing a get, because even if she produced a get, the Yershim are going to come and say, hey, we're collecting from our estate for her get. We already paid her for being a widow. Because if you don't say that sometimes you write a receipt, even though again, generally we don't write receipts, what do you mean? Think about it. You tell me the way she collects is when there's witnesses that he died. So, in a place where you don't write a ksuba, and the Yershim cannot tell her, give us back the document of your ksuba, what's the way that she collects? With witnesses that he died. But Nechashim have to be concerned. She might come to, again, it's not like in social media times, it's not like that. She might come to one court, collect, say, see, Reuven Shimon testified to Rabbanim that my husband died. He died? Okay, we're going to collect for you from the estate. She'll go to another court. It's not like, the Rabbanim don't remember. Go to another court, and she'll collect with the Eidei Misa. Why not? Elavadi says, obviously, in the situation it's not possible to prevent, because nothing to do. It's not like a ksuba that she has to give in. It's witnesses. So the witnesses will come to another court. So obviously, when it's not possible, because obviously you write a receipt. So you're right, in this situation, when she's a widow from Erison, obviously you can write a receipt, then you don't run into the problem, she can produce a get somewhere else. So again, the Gemara is just saying that obviously in certain situations, when it's necessary, although we generally don't write a receipt, you'll obviously write a receipt. And therefore you won't have this problem. The Gemara continues in this discussion. Amalei Mar Kashisha bereded Rav Chizda l'Ravashi. Rashi said, who's this Mar Kashisha? There was two sons of Rav Chizda. They had the same name. Very interesting. It's just that the older one would be called Mar Kashisha, the younger one would be called Mar Yenuka, which obviously means the older one and the younger one. But they had the same name, so they just called it the Eltere, the Ingere, because they had the same, you couldn't just call them. So Mar Kashisha, the son of Rav Chizda, said to Rav Ashi, says, Almona min Edison, a widow from engagement, which she has a ksuba with the stipulations of the court, even if he didn't write her one, an arusa gets a ksuba, but that's what the question is, which we were just discussing in the previous Gemara's discussion. We were asking from a case of Amonim and Erison, but that's what he asked. He said, Menolim this ksuba. He says, where do you even know that she gets a ksuba? In other words, you were telling me before, you were asking regarding when you have Eidei Misa themselves, you were concerned that maybe she might produce them when she's in Arusa, which you can't even prove Yeshevas Tachta. In one court, she might go to another court. Well, then obviously one of them you're going to be collecting without a document. Because if there is a document, then the first time that she gets paid up, you give back the document if it was written for her, and you're concerned that maybe she's going to come and collect. So obviously there is a ksuba with Tnai Bezin, even without a ksuba. So the question is, where do you know this from? Where do you know that the courts, not that he wrote on his own, how do you know that there's a actual Tnai Bezin, that a Narusa gets a ksuba? The Ilay Maha, everything from the Mishnah of Nadal and the base. Mishnah said in the Sarmalo in this Karsha, a woman gets widowed or divorced. So he said, Beimena Eidusin, that's the key word. Beimena Nesuin. She collects the whole ksuba, meaning the ikr, the primary, and the tesevas, the additions. So you see that an arusa gets a ksuba. Says, well, what are you talking about? The Kesuvos. Maybe it's not what he wrote. Maybe he didn't have to. Maybe it's not a time bezin. Maybe he decided he's going to go above and beyond. He's going to be the real uber chassan. He's going to show, I love you so much. I really mean this. I'm writing ksuba for you as an arusa. Says the Gemara, if you're going to say that, what do you mean? Kesuvos, why are you rejecting my raya? Saying he happened to have written for her, they might remember. Then what's the chiddush of that Mishnah over there? That she's going to get a ksuba. Of course, he wrote it for her. No, I'll tell you it's not a raya. I'll tell you it's Lavukim and Rabbi Elazar and Azariah. Why, he's going to tell me that if he wrote a ksuba, she's not going to get it? Yes. Because the Amar, he says, Shlei Kesuvos, he didn't write her the Tosefes, at least, the additions in general, Ela Manashu Kainsa. Only with the intention of consummating this relationship. And therefore, if he dies when they're just engaged, she's only going to get the Ikr Ksuba. So that's the Chiddush of the Mishnah of Nun Daled, that she gets Goybes HaKoil. She gets not only the Ikr, but also the Tosefes, even though he dies as a Chassan, he never consummates relation. So it's not a Raya that it's telling me Goybes HaKoil because there's a Tnai Bezdin to write a Ksuba. No. Could be he just decided to. And of course, if he decided to, then she'll get it. No. Chiddush is that not only will she get the Ikr, she'll even get the Tesevis. The Gemara actually says, actually the precise reading seems to indicate not like Araya. It's telling us when he wrote it. Because the words of the Mishnah are, Goyves HaKol, she collects everything. So the Gemara says like this. If you say the custom law that he's the one who wrote it for her, you're right, that's why I understand that she collects everything, because he wrote it, and if he wrote it, he obligated himself. But if you say that he did not write for the Ksuba, and when the Mishnah Ibn Dal said that, like we thought we're going to bring a riot from there, that it's a Tanai Bezdin, that allows her to collect just as Narusa, so my guy is Sakal. So what's the Mishnah when they're saying she collects everything? Mana 100 if she's not Mana, Masayim 200 if she's a Basula, Hud Isla, that's what she has. Because there is no Teis Avid, you didn't write anything. It's a Tanai Bezdin. So Bazuk's to Goyves HaKol. The Goyves HaKol sounds like you're not just going to get the basic. You're going to get everything. What everything? I didn't write Iksuba. Oh, you say because it's not Bezin? So that's not everything. That's the Iker. The wording everything is not appropriate when it's the basic plan that you're getting. So you're right. So obviously you're right. That Mishnah would for sure not be a raya for our halacha, because actually that seems to indicate that he wrote it for her. So we don't have a source that there's a Tanai Bezin like that, which we were saying in our previous Gemara's discussion, an inference that you could collect just with Eidim Misa without an actual Ksuba document. So Bela says, I'll bring you raya that there is such a Tanai Bezin. Meditani Rav Chia bar Rava. Chia bar Rava taught the following brayso. Ishte Arusa, that's the key word. If his wife is engaged and she died, the halacha is loy oinen. The chassan is not considered an oinen, which if one of your seven close relatives pass away, halacha is a person is an oinen that he's not an ikadshon. He's not an oinen if his kala who's engaged pass away. And neither if he's a kohen is he allowed to make himself tummy, because it says only she'edoi, which is his wife, and she's not. The other way, she also lo yonenes, she's not an oines, and what does it mean? Rashi explains she's not obligated to be engaged in his burial to make herself tamitim, which would be applicable whether she's a Kehanis or Yisraelis. Meaning, even though there's a mitzvah to make yourself tummy to the mason that is said in the parasha, where like it says lo yitama, you actually have an obligation to make yourself tummy to bury the seven close relatives. She's not obligated because it's not specifically regarding Kehanis, because a Kehanis actually has no isra of being matam la mason. So it's not like when she's not allowed to be matam to him because he was never her husband. Not true. Kehanis doesn't have the halachas of tumah. They're allowed to go by the under the branches by Ocean Parkway. They don't have that problem. It's only the Kehanim that have that problem. So it just means that she's not obligated to. But continues the brayso, Mesa, if she dies in the Yersha, he doesn't inherit her, because by the Yerusha of the husband it says she'eda, like it says l'she'eda hakaral l'mishpachta v'Yerush Isa, which we learn from there. The husband inherits his wife. She's not his wife. She was just a kala. Meis hu, and this is the main point. Meis hu, if he dies, again, even if she was only engaged, kaiva ksubasa, she collects a ksuba. So you see, as mashrabta ksuba, even for Narusa. Says the Gemara, what's the raya? The Melekasavla. Maybe he wrote it, but there's no Tanai Bezin mandating that. And if you're going to say he wrote it from Mailamem, what's the price of telling me that? Of course she's going to get it. He wrote it. No, it's Mesa. It's the first part of the case. There's two cases: when she dies and when he dies. It's Mesa in the Yersha Israel. What we needed to say was because of the first half of this halacha. When she dies, he doesn't inherit her. Therefore, we had to say, when he dies, she gets a ksuba. To let us know that even though he wrote for her ksuba, and even though that they were so close as a chasnekala, even so, he's not going to inherit her. So, you see how close they were. He wrote her a ksuba, and you see she's getting a ksuba. So you see she's getting a ksuba because he wrote it for her. Maybe you think the other way around would be true also. That when she dies, he'll inherit her. Because just like when he dies, she gets a ksuba, but not because it's mandated, because he wrote it for her. So you see they're so close. That's the chiddush of no Mesa in the Yersha. So again, it's not a raya to this halacha of that there's a Tanai Bezin to have a ksuba by a Narusa. Now, however, the Gemara goes back to what we were saying before. Okay, so that was a little bit of a sidebar. Now the Gemara is going back to the same teaching of Rav that we were asking from the whole time regarding this halacha of our Mishnah of talking about that he says that that you gave ksubasa with the get is the ikr, and when you produce the ksuba is the tesefes, and we had asked the question, we explained this to him, there's no ede gedishin, and that's how you don't collect when you produce the ksuba, and then we had a question with Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, we answered that, we said it's chsur mechseba chikitani, and then we got off of the question based on that, then what do you do with amonim and the erisim and the suin, and now we're coming back to just finish off that conversation. Amalei Rav Nachman Rav Huna says, Rav, according to Rav Dama, that he says, get, go the ikr, you collect the primary of 100, 200. So as we were asking questions before, another question is, so wait a second. So maybe she might produce the get in this court and collect. And she might go ahead and produce another court and collect also. And maybe you can say, what do you mean the kardinalai that we rip it up, so, which we were assuming all the way up until now, that we would explain like that will tear it. So it says, how could you do that? I'm just going to say, I need to get to show people that I'm divorced that they shouldn't say, what do you mean? She's a married woman. No one's going to want to marry such a woman. So obviously you can't tear it up. So you're not tearing it up. So then a very basic question is, how could you collect with a get? She always allowed to hold on to that. So swipe. She's just going to come collect because she has the get. Says the Gemara, no, the Karin, we actually do tear it up. But we write on it. Gita did not kiranu. We, the courts, we tore it up. Labishon the Gita apostle, not because it's an invalid get. Just that she shouldn't come and collect another time with it. So that's what we kept on saying when she says Ovid Giti, she's lying according to him. Why are you saying Ovid Giti? Because they tore it up. Now, of course, when we say tore it up, she holds on to it. But you don't want to show the get because that's going to show that I already paid you up. So you say, oh, I lost my get. I don't know where it was. I misplaced it. I don't know, but here's my ksuba. No, you can't collect with that ksuba. Chlik is Rabbi Shmuel, what you can't collect. Shmuel says you can't collect anything. Rabbi says you just can't collect well, it depends on the case. So when there's no edigadishin, then you can't. But if there was an edigadishin, then you're right, you would be able to collect the tesefes with that. Let's do the next Mishnah in Gemara until it takes us to the top of Tzadi Ben Al. Says the Mishnah also about collecting a ksuba. Says the Mishnah, Shnei Gitin b'shtei kesubos. What's this case talking about? So the date of the first ksuba is before the date of the first get, and the date of the second ksuba is before the date of the second get. So you have two gittin and you have two kesubos. So what's the halacha, says the Mishnah? Okay, goy b'shtei kesubos. You collect two kesubos. Why? Because obviously he divorced her and remarried her, and he wrote her a second ksuba. Because Rashi points out, if the date of the two ksubas were before the first get, then she wouldn't go ahead and collect two ksubas. Because when he remarried her, that means to say he never wrote her a ksuba. And the Seif of our Mishnah teaches that when you have two ksubas and a get, you only collect one of them. So that comes to teach us that when someone writes to his wife two ksubas, she's only collecting one of them. And if because he divorced her and remarried her, but the Mishnah teaches also that when you have a ksuba and two gittin, she only gets one, because when he remarries her, it's based on the first ksuba. So this halacha of getting two ksubas is only going to be valid if the date of the ksuba, well, we'll see that in those other cases. But the date of the first ksuba is before the date of the first get, and the date of the second ksuba is before the date of the second get. So that's no problem. She got remarried with a new ksuba. Therefore,
if she had to get it first time, she might have gotten the ksuba for the first time.
No, she's producing it. She's producing the document. She has all the documentation.
But when somebody is marrying the second time, he's giving it another payment?
He gave another ksuba, that's insane. If he would be going...
What if she said she lost the ksuba?
No, he is not. We're not talking about. She has all the documents. She comes with two gittin and two ksubas.
Is it a guy who wants to give his wife another set of ksuba? In other words, he's not marrying her adopted that I'm giving you the same amount?
If he was, then he wouldn't write a new ksuba. And they would be based on the old ksuba. Okay, we'll finish. We'll do it tomorrow. Thank you for any time for hosting us. It's going to take time.